Well, I have to say, I think it's very sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries, and then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia, where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate. And the former chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas. Ultimately, Germany will have almost 70% of their country controlled by Russia with natural gas. So you tell me, is that appropriate? I mean, I've been complaining about this from the time I got in. It should have never been allowed to have happened. But Germany is totally controlled by Russia because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline. And you tell me if that's appropriate, because I think it's not. And I think it's a very bad thing for NATO, and I don't think it should have happened.
The sanctions on the Nord Stream 2 project are included in a wide-ranging US defence spending bill. President Trump signed that legislation into law at a ceremony held at Andrews Air Force Base just outside Washington.
So it's now my honor to sign the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act into law.
The sanctions target companies involved in the almost €10 billion project to double the pipeline capacity carrying Russian natural gas to Europe's leading economy, Germany. Most of that pipeline has been completed. Allseas, the company building the unfinished section through Danish territorial waters, announced it was halting its work in anticipation of the new law. Washington had made it clear in advance that non-compliance would have consequences. The US move has angered Germany, a long-time ally. Berlin rejects the idea that Washington can legally impose sanctions on third parties.
We have long been against extraterritorial sanctions. We have the same problem with Iran. In my opinion, the only solution is to hold talks, very decisive talks. We're against letting these extraterritorial sanctions take effect.
Despite the anger in Berlin, Germany is not planning any action against Washington. That's not the case with Russia, the other partner in the pipeline. President Vladimir Putin has threatened retaliation, and Moscow has made it clear it will go ahead and finish the project, whatever the United States does.
Now, the United States is waiving sanctions on the company that is behind Russia's Nord Stream 2 pipeline and its chief executive. The decision comes as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov held a high-level meeting and agreed to work on differences between the two countries. U.S. had imposed sanctions on some ships and entities involved in construction of the $11 billion pipeline. The project aims to take a Russian gas from the Arctic to Germany. The U.S. had opposed the deal, but now the Biden administration has decided to waive sanctions.
But how can you be together when a country is getting its energy from the person you want protection against or from the group that you want protection?
Because you understand that when we stand together also when dealing with Russia, we are stronger. I think what we have seen is that...
No, you're just making Russia richer.
Well,
you're not dealing with Russia, you're making Russia richer.
So I think that even during the Cold War, NATO allies were trading with Russia. Then there have been disagreements about what kind of trade arrangements we should go into.
I think trade is wonderful. I think energy is a whole different story. I think energy is a much different story than normal trade. And you have a country like Poland that won't accept the gas. You take a look at some of the countries, they won't accept it because they don't want to be captive to Russia. But Germany, as far as I'm concerned, is captive to Russia because it's getting so much of its energy from Russia.